So the last week or two has been quite a ride for Stranger Things. And again, just the whole community being split down the middle. Well, maybe not exactly the middle. I don't know how many people are on either side. But again, a big chunk of people really believing that there would be a secret episode for Stranger Things season 5. And then a very big chunk that were not believing in that and thought it was ridiculous. Now, many different dates that were speculated to be the dates that, you know, there could be a Stranger Things season 5 secret episode have kind of come and passed. The first one, if you haven't been catching up, again, you can go watch the first video, which I talked about why I believe that there is a Stranger Things season 5, or believe. The question is, do I still believe that there is or isn't? But in this video, what I want to focus on is there any more hope, or was this the last straw? Was this the final hope? Now, a lot of people were speculating January 7th because of the whole Netflix with their What Next ad. And look, given there was a lot of stuff in there. There was a lot of stuff in there that kind of suggested that there would be something coming on the 7th that had to do with Stranger Things. And then after that, there was a couple other things. People assumed the 11th. Why? The reason for that is, again, and I mentioned this in a previous video, if you want to see the whole thing fleshed out, again, check the previous videos. But the whole premise, I guess, to give you it kind of briefly, is with Volume 1 leading up to the launch of Volume 2, every single day for the like 4 days, whatever it was before the launch of Volume 2, they were posting scenes from, right? And it was scenes from, you know, this episode and the next one in chronological order. Okay. And then on the, 25th, Volume 2 launched. Now, basically they started doing that with Volume 2 and I guess the finale a few days ago, like a week ago or whatever it was, however many episodes there were. And they started doing that every single day. And they were doing it every day at 12 p.m. And, eventually they kind of broke that cycle. So they did 12 p.m., then they did 2 p.m. So everyone's like, oh, they're getting later and later. And the math was mathing that, by the time they get to the 11th, an 8 p.m. slot would have been, that's when usually a new episode releases. But then they kind of messed around with that, and it went from 12 p.m. and then the next day was a 2 p.m. release. Then it went back to, I think it was 1 p.m. or something. But still, people were like, okay, well, still leading up to the very final one would be on the 10th. The 10th would be the chapter 8 scenes from chapter 8. And then people were like, well, maybe the day before the documentary on the 11th, we're going to get, that secret episode, and then the documentary on the 12th. That didn't happen, right? The 11th came and went, and nothing happened. So that was a second date shot down. And the third and final hope that I think a lot of people had, there is one more hope I'll mention, but what the main hope that I think that some people were still kind of clinging to, I think the 11th was the big one. I think the 7th was the major one. After the 7th, a lot of the believers, if you will, stopped believing or started doubting. The 11th, I think, shook up a few more. It kind of rattled the tree, and a few more kind of fell from the tree, if you will, of those believers who now became non-believers. And then there was a core group that still had one last hope. And that hope, there was a theory, and it was pretty good. And I was going to make a video on it. It's like, we'll see. Let's just play it out. Okay. So all the people are saying, hey man, you're just milking it. Now we're going to talk about it. Okay. Well, I got multiple videos. I want to talk about different topics. I don't want to just throw them all in the same video because they're different topics, but it's all related to Stranger Things. And there's a lot, man, I want to cover. But for this one, there was an interesting theory, because the Duffers, again, we'd mentioned before that they were very inspired by Stephen King and the whole Dark Tower series, and how that kind of ends. So that people really had hope. There was like, okay, there's one last hope. Then what someone else said, I seen somewhere online, or multiple people, so I don't know who the original source was for this, is that the documentary was going to be the secret episode. And let me explain what that kind of theory would have been. What that would have been is that it would have been similar to the Freddy Krueger movies from way back in the day. I think there was like 6 movies, and then the 7th movie. It was not marketed as a documentary that kind of took a turn. It was marketed as a movie, but the premise of that movie was that there was basically they were filming a real life documentary with the directors having their real names in this so-called movie. And then halfway or partway through the movie, essentially the plot, what happens, correct me if I'm wrong, if you guys have a better recollection of this. But anyways, what happens about, partway through the movie is that Freddy Krueger kind of, breaks through the fourth wall into the real world. And the whole thing is like, we got to stop him. That theory related to Stranger Things season 5 would have been that the whole idea would have been, again, based off of what we felt was the breaking of the fourth wall in Stranger Things season 5, right? It really did seem like Lucas looked right at the audience, says, I don't know about you guys, and then he goes on to say, I don't believe in coincidences. So there seemed to be some breaking of the fourth wall and playing with the audience's mind in season 5 of Stranger Things. So the idea was like, okay, maybe they're going to really go all out. They're really going to take a lot of inspiration from the whole Freddy Krueger kind of movie. And they're going to do that. They're going to start it off like it's a behind the scenes documentary and then break the fourth wall. And then all of a sudden it's like, there's this kind of like meshing of the real world and you know what I mean? Like that idea was really cool. And that was one idea that I was kind of like, all right, you know what? I'm on board. I'm not totally sold, but I'm on board. And I'm like, that would be a really cool idea. And now the 12th came, and guess what's out? The documentary. And guess what's not in the documentary? That. It's just 2 hours of behind the scenes. And again, we'll cover that more in a different video, but that did not happen. So at this point, I think this is going to basically shake a lot of people. And I think, look, you guys let me know in the comment section below where you stand on this. Do you still believe, after the fact that nothing happened on the 7th, nothing happened on the 11th, nothing happened during the documentary. And again, the theory wasn't necessarily hinged upon a specific date, but when you go through all those 3 dates, and there's really, there's substantial reason to believe that if there was a secret episode, it was going to happen on one of those dates. And now the last theory, which was the 12th, is come and gone. Do you still believe? And if so, why? I heard one more thing. Now, do I believe it? That's another topic. But one last thing is this. People were saying 1/7, which could be January 7th, could actually be July 1st. Listen, the thing about that, because the date, that's how they do it in the UK. Well, the problem is Netflix and the Duffers and all that, like they're basing everything on the US time zone dates. So they're not going to do that. They're not going to do that. I don't think they're going to do that. July 1st, I don't think that's going to happen. So the question is, what's left? Do they try to get some scraps and pull something together? I don't know. What I will say lastly is that Netflix is probably kicking themselves right now. The Duffers are probably kicking themselves right now, because now with all of this, let me put it this way. On the 7th, there were so many people that believed that there was going to be a secret episode on the 7th that basically people crashed Netflix for a brief moment, because that's how hard the servers were swarmed. That many people believed that there was going to be a secret episode, or even the people that are probably doubting. I see some of you out there, man, you probably went and opened it. Oh, let me go open my Netflix and just see, maybe there is a secret episode. Who knows? Maybe those crazy people are right after all. But you know what I mean? Like if I'm Netflix and if I'm the Duffers especially, I'm like, dude, that was the biggest missed opportunity on the face of this earth. That was the biggest flop on the face of this earth, because you had the biggest potential for that. Now, what does Netflix do at this point? Is it logistically possible? I don't think so, because the Duffers contract with Netflix is ending soon, if I remember correctly. But I don't think so. But, is there any possibility that they're like, Netflix is like, listen, like this got so much publicity, we need to like pull something together. And although there was not a secret episode, maybe they try to film it. Is that a possibility? Maybe, but I don't know, because logistically it just doesn't make sense, because again, the Duffer Brothers, their contract with Netflix, it's ending soon. I mean, this was the end. This kind of put, like, I don't even think the cast would really want to do that. And, contractually, like, I don't think anyone's really bound to that anymore anyways, because this was the end. So I think everybody's just kind of free from it. So like you would need to like you would need to sell people on like and like I don't know. Maybe there is a possibility in some world that could happen. But either way, like the amount of publicity that this theory got. I mean, again, if I'm Netflix or if I'm the Duffers, I'm like, dude, come on. Like that's a genius idea. And unfortunately, I guess it was just too genius for the Duffers. So, constructive criticism, man. Critique where critique needs to be, and they dropped the ball. They really dropped the ball. There's a whole other topic I guess we can get into that some people are speculating that I forget what, I think it was Ross, or I forget which Duffer brother, but his wife was kind of the ghostwriter, and they I guess that split or whatever, and that was like after season 4, so that's why season 5 is so bad, because she wasn't ghostwriting on her. So I don't know if that's true, but if that is true, I mean, that's wild. But again, I don't know if there's any way to kind of say for sure. But the point being, the Duffers dropped the ball. That's all. Like, it's like in the documentary. Okay, there's a clip. Again, we'll talk more about the documentary in the video. There's a clip that they basically admit, number one, that they, I can't believe this. They admit that they started filming episode 1 before the finale was even written. And it's like, you should have just like flushed this out, man. It felt rushed and sloppy through and through. And then the other thing was that there was, I don't know if he was a writer or who he is, but there was someone in the writer's room. Anyways, I guess he's one of the writers. And he was saying how like in the finale, there should be like the bats and the demos and all this and that. And he was saying, there should not be just nothing. And the Duffer's like, yeah, people have demo fatigue. Let's not do that kind of thing. In the end, I'm paraphrasing that part, but in the end, they were basically like, yeah, people are just, they got fatigue of the Demogorgons and all that and all these different creatures. So we're not going to do that. And so what did that ended up being? Like it just ended up being something that made no sense. Made no sense. It made no, like there should be at least the bats flying around even in the distance somewhere in this world, but no, nothing. So anyways, that's all I got to say for now. Is there a final hope? There was a final hope. For me, there was a final hope. I think the final hope was the documentary. Beyond this, I don't see a way forward. I really don't. I don't know. I'm gonna have to reevaluate that. I'm gonna reevaluate, what we get in the documentary. We'll talk about the documentary in a different video, but I don't see a way for it. If you do, let me know in the comments below. Let me know if you still believe, or let me know if you were a believer and now you're not. You know what I mean? Like, that's it, man. We've been let down. Moving forward, let me know also what kind of other content would you guys like to see? Because like eventually we're not going to talk about Stranger Things really anymore. There's not going to be anything to talk about until the spinoffs come out. So, if you want to see, more reactions and kind of reviews, discussions like this, maybe some news regarding different movies and TV shows, pop culture. Yeah. Well, I don't know. All right. I don't know. I'm mad. I'm upset. Okay. Like, I can't believe they dropped the ball that hard. We'll talk about that more. Anyways, thanks for watching. And, what a letdown. What's the biggest, well, hold on. Last question. What is the bigger letdown? If you watched Game of Thrones, was the ending of Game of Thrones a bigger letdown, or Stranger Things? That's a good question. So let me know. All right. Catch you guys later. I'm going to go cry. No, I'm not going to cry over this. Are you kidding me? But I am bummed out. There's good shows to watch though. I'm going to go watch one of them right now. We'll talk about it.